Hello guys, welcome back to our anime explainer. Guys, please like the video and subscribe to my channel. Today is explanation of Soul Land 2 Peerless Tang Men based on novel. So let's start. Close to 300 beams of light shone once again. However, they weren't aimed at Huo Yuhao or Tang Wutong this time. Instead, they were aimed at Kong Deming. A strange silver armor suddenly shone on Kong Deming's body. This armor was like a mirror. On his chest, there was a huge gem which extended all the way from his chest to his belly. This gem was bright silver. After the lights behind Kong Deming surged into his body, they were quickly guided to that huge gem by the massive silver moon divine light barrier. The bright silver lights made Kong Deming seem as if he were a small silver sun. The Sun Moon Empire's soul tool technology was so advanced. How could it possibly only have one simple trump card? Right now, Kong Deming was using another trump card. Yes, ordinary linked attacks were now useless after they were affected by the interference shells. However, Kong Deming didn't just unleash a simple linkage. It was a guided linkage. He was like an intermediary. He guided, compressed and fused the soul rays that the soul engineers fired before unleashing an extremely powerful attack. This involved very complicated knowledge of spatial control. Such an attack couldn't be replicated by anyone else. This was because it wasn't just enough for one to possess immense soul power and spiritual power. It was also critical for one to understand these powers. The human-shaped soul tools that the soul engineers wore were designed by Kong Deming. Along with his control of spatial power through his Silver Moon divine light barrier, Kong Deming believed that his attack was already stronger than an ultimate Doluo. It wasn't even far-fetched that it was at the tier of gods. This was the strongest strike he could unleash. He had wanted to use it to deal with the ultimate Doluo in Star Luo City. He didn't use it against Elder Xian earlier, because he didn't want to kill him, and develop a deep enmity with Shrek Academy as a result of it. However, Huo Yuhao and Tang Wutong both threatened the Sun Moon Empire now. Without any hesitation, Kong Deming immediately resorted to his final and most powerful trump card. A powerful attack was instantly unleashed. Huo Yuhao was expressionless as he watched everything unfold in front of him. He was holding hands with Tang Wutong as they stood there. His left hand was lifted slightly in front of him. A strange layer of light appeared on his body. A jade-green halo mixed with an icy blue light projection. In the distance, the golden sun, which was originally there, turned into a blue, circular moon. Yes, it was a full moon instead of a crescent. Unprecedentedly bright light shot out from Kong Deming's chest. It couldn't be described using colors anymore. When it appeared, heaven and earth dimmed. A terrifying force caused Juzi to exclaim. Even she didn't know about this trump card that Kong Deming possessed. It was so powerful that everyone was shocked. The sky instantly turned dark. It was as if nothing could challenge the brightness of this light. Kong Deming was already grinning. If this were classified as a soul tool, it had to be a Class 11 soul tool. Yes, it was an unprecedented Class 11 soul tool. In fact, Kong Deming could only unleash this strike once. This was because there was no material capable of containing such immense strength currently. It was not possible even if spatial power was used as a guide. Right now, when this beam of light was fired, the gem at the front of his chest was already crushed. Once it was fired, the gem expired. It was completely wrecked. However, Kong Deming's smile immediately froze. He couldn't believe his eyes. What did he see? It was as if the ice plains of the extreme north had appeared in front of him. Thick snow fell, and the ground was icy. There was a huge ice mirror. The mirror was dim blue, and emanated a gentle glow. In the sky, a full moon fell. It shone on this mirror, making it seem like a sparkling sapphire. The surface of the mirror was very smooth. The gentle glow was in contrast with the bright light that was approaching from afar. When the light shone on the mirror, it was reflected at a 45-degree angle. It was reflected away just like that. The reflected light was like a huge pillar that could support heaven and earth. It was reflected far away, and appeared boundless. Huo Yuhao turned slightly pale. Behind him, two figures, one white and one green, silently appeared. They both stretched out their palms and placed them on his back. The temperature fell dramatically. Silver-white frost started appearing on the body of every Soul Engineer from the Sun Moon Imperial Soul Engineer Legion. They started to lose control of their bodies, and weren't able to fly steadily in the air. This is impossible. Kong Deming lost his voice as he exclaimed. He had lost control of his emotions even given his status. He was not composed at all. The attack of a Class 11 Soul Tool had been neutralized just like that. The other party had used very simple logic, that all light could be reflected. Bang, bang. Two loud explosions rang out. The gem in front of Kong Deming's chest and the ice mirror were crushed at almost the same time. They broke into smithereens. Happiness! Huo Yuhao shouted. Following this, the blue moon turned back into a golden sun. The sky was shining bright with golden light. At the same time, a sonorous dragon roar was heard from Tang Wutong's mouth. She turned around and transformed into a giant purplish gold radiant dragon butterfly. This dragon butterfly supported Huo Yuhao. After this, strong spiritual pressure was exerted from both her and Huo Yuhao's bodies. A strange spiritual intent immediately engulfed the entire Sun Moon Imperial Soul Engineer Legion. Their supposedly relentless attacks were halted just like this. Their bodies shone with blinding light, which obviously came from spiritual defensive soul tools. To build an invincible Soul Engineer Legion, the Sun Moon Empire had invested a lot of resources and effort into the Sun Moon Imperial Soul Engineer Legion. Every Soul Engineer from the Legion was equipped with a spiritual defensive soul tool. This was even proposed by Zhu Zi. Right now, they indeed played a very critical role. However, while they could block the spiritual attack, they couldn't block out the emotional undulations that came with the spiritual attack. Anger. Another scream sounded. The 300 Soul Engineer Legions all shuddered at the same time. As they were influenced by emotions, they were struck by happiness and anger at the same time. Their soul power also became messy. They didn't even know what to do now. Their hands turned soft. Spiritual blast. Huo Yuhao's cold voice echoed. The sky collapsed. Yes, it really felt as if the sky had collapsed when he shouted. A terrifying shockwave immediately spread. It was no longer just at the spiritual level. It was on a spatial level. The sky turned dark within the region of the spiritual blast. After this, the barrier started shaking. Not only this, but another golden sun shone behind Huo Yuhao's back. It belonged to Tang Wutong. A singing voice echoed in front of the golden sun. After this, a second spiritual blast was unleashed. Two spiritual blasts were unleashed just like that. If Huo Yuhao was the one unleashing both, there should at least be a gap between both spiritual blasts. Even the Merfolk's duet couldn't achieve an overlapping effect on the second strike. However, things were different with Tang Wutong's spiritual power. Her spiritual power also came from 3 soul cores. Furthermore, it was even close to Huo Yuhao's spiritual power. The spiritual blasts generated by the Merfolk's duet achieved an unprecedentedly magical effect. The second blast was generated immediately after the first blast. Before the first wave passed, the second wave had already arrived. They overlapped, and their effects were enhanced. A deafening crushing sound was heard. The spiritual defensive soul tools that belonged to the soul engineers of the Sun Moon Imperial Soul Engineer Legion were crushed. After this, their helmets and human-shaped soul tools were crushed. Of course, there was still the Silver Moon Divine Light Barrier. Kong Deming wanted to stop Huo Yuhao, but he couldn't do so. When he was prepared to control his Silver Moon Divine Light Barrier, a blinding beam of black light had already lit up in front of him. It wasn't overly huge, and was only 30 centimeters long. It was shaped like a black hammer. However, there was a weird black glow coming from this black hammer. When he saw this hammer, Kong Deming immediately sensed a potentially fatal pressure coming from it. This caused him to shudder. After this, The hammer struck the air not far away from him. The terrifying pressure caused him to lose his balance. He even lost control of his barrier as his body shook. At that instant, he only felt as if he had fallen into collapsed space. He could no longer control his body. His eyes were filled with horror. At this moment, he could only act to save himself. He retracted the cracked barrier again. It appeared in front of him and stabilized the space around him. Even though he was bleeding, he still managed to escape from the region engulfed by the clear sky hammer. 300 corpses fell from the sky. The battlefield was silent. Whether it was the Sun-Moon Empire or those from the Three Empires, they believed that the Sun-Moon Imperial Soul Engineer Legion no longer stood any chance of victory. Earlier, it was because of their involvement that the Doling Empire fell so quickly. In the world of Soul Masters, the Sun-Moon Imperial Soul Engineer Legion was legendary. However, this legend was taken down right now. It was as if it had ceased to exist. It was all because of two people. The Sun-Moon Empire had lost its strongest pillar. The fate of this fight was sealed. Juzi was completely in a daze. Although she knew that Huo Yuhao and Tang Wutong would become terrifyingly strong if they returned, she was still comforted by the fact that she had the Sun-Moon Imperial Soul Engineer Legion. At least the Soul Engineer Legion shouldn't have any problem resisting them. However, her hopes were dashed now. Resist? How could they? Without linked soul tools, how could they possibly resist two ultimate Doluo? These two were even extraordinary ultimate Doluo. How? How did you manage to reflect my light? It's impossible. The strength of my Silver Moon Divine Light Ray has already transcended this world. It's already close to the strength of gods. Kong Deming was unconvinced. He was a little hysterical as he screamed at Huo Yuhao. Huo Yuhao looked coldly at him. This is because my ice mirror is at absolute zero. Absolute zero. Kong Deming was dazed. He had heard of such a concept, but didn't it only exist in myths? Even ultimate ice couldn't possibly reach such a temperature. Forming an ice mirror at absolute zero before using it to reflect the ray. He was a little unconvinced as he asked again, if you resist it directly, you can't block it off even if you can reach absolute zero. Childish. Huo Yuhao snorted scornfully. Why do I have to resist it directly? Don't tell me you are willing to resist my all-out attack directly. You have 300 people, but we only have 2. Our small tactic was enough to down all of them. If you can unleash that sort of attack 100 times, perhaps you can resist us. But for now, it's over. As he spoke, Huo Yuhao looked into the sky. Tang Wutong, who was below him, also shone brightly with golden light. In the sky, 2 golden suns shone at the same time. They flashed alternately in the sky, turning the entire battlefield golden. Immense spiritual undulations engulfed the entire Sun-Moon Empire army. Any slight movement was recorded. Sorrow. Huo Yuhao called. Something strange happened. On the ground, all the soul tools in the soul formations started to melt. They turned into a golden metal fluid that spread on the ground. The feeling of sorrow didn't just affect people. It affected everything. This was the power of emotions. It was simple sorrow, but the entire world shook because of this. The soul formations that had been constructed seemed to vanish instantly. Huo Yuhao looked coldly at Juzi. Now, you shouldn't doubt my words, right? You should know that I can destroy your entire army. Return all the territories that the Sun-Moon Empire has invaded and scram back to the Sun-Moon Empire. If you do that, I'll spare their lives. Otherwise, prepare to witness their deaths. Juzi turned pale. When she saw the White Tiger Duke, who had already retreated far away, she knew that she probably wouldn't be able to avenge her parents' deaths. All her sacrifices and hard work over the years was wasted just like that. No, no, no. I want to take revenge. I want to take revenge. Juzi raged at Huo Yuhao. That's right, you can kill all of us. So what if you can? I've already given the order. If the Sun-Moon Empire's army is taken down here, the troops stationed in all the cities of the three empires will start a massacre of the civilians in those cities. We'll kill as many as possible. You are brilliant. However, can you save the entire continent? Can you? Thousands and thousands of people will have died because of you. If you kill millions from the Sun Moon Empire, I'll kill even more from the three empires. They'll die with us. If you don't let me take revenge, I'll vent all my anger and hatred on the entire continent. After hearing Zhu Zi's hysterical words, Huo Yuhao wasn't the only one whose expression changed significantly. The people from Shrek Academy, Star Luo City, the Douling Empire, and the Heavenly Soul Empire were also all shocked. If Zhu Zi really did that, the entire continent would be stained with blood. How terrifying would that be? Such a disaster was unimaginable. At least, no one here was willing to imagine it. Huo Yuhao was furious. What are you talking about? Will you dare to do that? Zhu Zi glared at him coldly. I can do anything for revenge. Don't think you've won. Hand the White Tiger Duke over. As long as I kill him, I'll recall my troops. Star Luo City can remain. I won't attack the city as long as you are alive. I've already gained control of the entire continent. I can do whatever I want. No matter how strong you are, you can't save the entire continent. Huo Yuhao was already pale green by now. That's right, he had managed to reverse the situation with his and Tang Wutong's immense abilities. Even though there were millions in front of him now, they were just cannon fodder to the two of them. However, Zhu Zi was right. The Sun Moon Empire controlled most of the continent. Given this, Huo Yuhao might be able to protect a few cities if she ordered a genocide. However, he wouldn't be able to protect the entire continent. It couldn't happen. Zhu Zi. Huo Yuhao shouted coldly. Zhu Zi looked up and glared coldly back at him. At this moment, a figure flew out from Huo Yuhao's back and came beside him. It was the White Tiger Duke, Dai Hao. If she wants to kill me, let her do it. As long as I can protect the countless lives on the continent, what's my life worth? Dai Hao said. Right now, there was a comforted look in his eyes. As the marshal, he had never expected someone to be able to change the entire course of a battle with his individual ability. Furthermore, he saw hope in Huo Yuhao and Tang Wutong. He saw hope for the Star Luo Empire. He still recalled Huo Yuhao once telling him that he was from the Star Luo Empire. Since this was the case, the Star Luo Empire had a future. In the future, how could the empire not restore its glory under Huo Yuhao's leadership? Zhu Zi was very big with her words. She wanted to massacre everyone on the continent, but she might not be able to do it. Once he was dead, she might lack the motivation to do it too. Didn't she just want revenge? She could kill him. For the future of the empire and for the continent, he believed that his death was worth it. No, Huo Yuhao shouted and grabbed the White Tiger Duke by the shoulder. He refused to let him fly over. After this, Huo Yuhao's gaze turned deeper. His spiritual undulations engulfed the entire Sun Moon Empire army. After this, there seemed to be something else appearing in his eyes. He appeared to struggle a little, but soon made up his mind. Zhu Zi, don't blame me since you're so brazen. Huo Yuhao snorted coldly. He swept his right hand in front of his body. A streak of silver light flashed across the sky and revealed a silver door. Zhu Zi was stunned. When she looked into his eyes, an indescribable fear surfaced in her heart. This was because she immediately knew what he was up to. No, don't. Zhu Zi shouted. However, Huo Yuhao's hand was already in the door. At the next moment, a boy who looked like he was 6 or 7 appeared in his hand. This boy's appearance was very sudden. However, the soldiers of the Sun Moon Empire were very astonished now. This boy was also lost. He looked at Huo Yuhao before looking at his mother. He appeared confused. However, he still managed to remain calm. He was puzzled as he looked at Huo Yuhao. Who are you? Why did you grab me? His train of thought was very clear. Huo Yuhao, you must not hurt him. No, no. Zhu Zi's persistence was broken because of this boy. She was almost on the verge of crying as she screamed at Huo Yuhao. Huo Yuhao looked coldly at her. If you can kill all life on the continent, why can't I do the same? I don't wish to use a boy to threaten you. However, don't blame me if you're using the entire continent to threaten me. As he spoke, he pulled the boy into his embrace. The boy's face was very close to Huo Yuhao. He was in a daze, but he wasn't afraid. He even stretched out his hand to touch Huo Yuhao's face. Huo Yuhao dodged, but the boy still managed to touch him. Why do I find you so familiar? The boy asked curiously. He didn't seem to be afraid at all. After this, he turned to his mother. Mom, don't cry. This uncle smells very familiar. He won't harm me. Yes, Huo Yuhao was holding the current emperor of the Sun Moon Empire, Xu Yunhan. He had easily managed to find where Xu Yunhan was using his spiritual detection. After that, he used his control of spatial power to capture him. This was something that Zhu Zi didn't expect. Very few in the Sun Moon Empire knew that Xu Yunhan had tagged along with them. The reason why Zhu Zi brought him with her was because she couldn't leave him alone in the empire. After all, she had left with the strongest fighting force in the empire. Furthermore, something had happened to her son before. She was afraid of a repeat of the incident, which prompted her to bring him along with her. In her opinion, he was very safe with such a powerful Soul Engineer Legion led by Elder Kong personally. However, who knew that the situation would be like this now? Huo Yuhao was stunned for a moment after listening to Xu Yunhan's words. He couldn't help but think of the time when he first met him. He lowered his head and saw the beautiful, black short hair that Xu Yunhan had. His big black eyes were very bright, and his skin was just like his mother's, very smooth and delicate. He looked elegant in his outfit. The smile on his face was even more captivating. He was only 6 or 7, but he was not frantic at all. Rather, he was curious as he lifted his head to look at Huo Yuhao. Could Huo Yuhao really lay his hands on this kid? It was a certain no. It was impossible. However, he had no choice after being forced by Zhu Zi. Zhu Zi shuddered as she screamed, Huo Yuhao, you must not touch Yunhan. Huo Yuhao took a deep breath and calmed himself down. Then agree to my conditions. Leave with your people and return to the Sun Moon Empire. Zhu Zi's eyes flashed and she gritted her teeth. She was already a little speechless as she looked at Huo Yuhao. Revenge had been her life's goal. However, there were only 2 important people in her life. One was this man, who had disappeared for 3 years. The other was the little kid in his arms. Huo Yuhao was still less important. After all, she didn't belong to him. However, Xu Yunhan was her only son. He was her only reason to live. Zhu Zi didn't even dare to imagine what would happen if something happened to him. Perhaps she would really use the blood of the continent to pay respects to her son. Even though she knew that Huo Yuhao had always been very soft-hearted and wouldn't do anything to her son, she didn't dare to take the gamble. It was too scary. Why? Why must you protect the White Tiger Duke? Why don't you let me kill him? You should know that it's better for my empire to rule the continent compared to what's going on now. I'm no longer the one who can make the decision anymore. Even if you threaten me, I. Zhu Zi could not carry on any further as she spoke until this point. This was because she was terrified to see Huo Yuhao caressing her son's head. Given his abilities, he just needed an instant to kill him. No, Yuhao, don't do it. Don't harm Yunhan. Zhu Zi begged. Kong Deming was already very grim now. Xu Yunhan wasn't just the emperor. He was also his disciple. Although he was only 6, his potential was already recognized and well loved by Kong Deming. He believed that he could nurture a great emperor for the empire. Now that he was in the enemy's hands, the circumstances had changed completely. Moreover, the Sun Moon Imperial Soul Engineer Legion had been wiped out. It was a complete turnaround. Huo Yuhao's abilities were simply too terrifying. No one from the Sun Moon Empire could fight him. Under this circumstance, no one could possibly save Xu Yunhan. After listening to Juzi's words, Huo Yuhao turned his head to look at the White Tiger Duke. The White Tiger Duke was also staring back at him. He revealed a gentle gaze in his eyes, whereas Huo Yuhao appeared very conflicted. Do you know why I'm protecting him? Why won't I let you kill him? I'll tell you in front of everyone. Huo Yuhao took in a deep breath. Xu Yunhan was very obedient in his arms. He didn't struggle at all. Because Huo Yuhao turned around again and glared at Juzi. He is my biological father. When he said this, it was like a bomb that was dropped on two people. Although he wasn't very loud, it was very clear in every part of the battlefield, because of the conduction of his immense spiritual power. On the city walls, Dai Yueheng, Dai Huobin and Dai Luoli were all jolted awake. They also heard everything Huo Yuhao said. Apart from Dai Luoli, Dai Yueheng and Dai Huobin were both stunned. This was especially so for Dai Huobin. Ever since he had entered Shrek Academy, he had been chasing and challenging one person. No matter what, he wouldn't have expected this. He didn't expect Huo Yuhao to be his brother. In terms of age, Huo Yuhao should be his younger brother. Juzi was in a daze. She looked at Huo Yuhao, and her mouth was already subconsciously wide open. There were many thoughts in her mind, but she didn't expect this to be the case. How could this be the case? The White Tiger Duke, the person she hated to the core, was actually Huo Yuhao's father. Didn't that mean that Dai Hao was? Juzi felt as if cold water had been poured on her head when she developed this thought. She staggered in the air and almost couldn't control her body. She felt just like that. The White Tiger Duke was equally as astonished as he drifted to Huo Yuhao's side. What are you talking about? The White Tiger Duke's voice had completely changed. In his heart, this young man was one of the most powerful individuals in the younger generation of Soul Masters. He was the most outstanding person in Shrek. Because of him, the Star Luo Empire had managed to avert a few disasters. Did he actually mention that is my son? That's right. You are my father. Huo Yuhao turned to look at Dai Hao. He was no longer calm, and his voice was shaking a little. Due to his emotional undulations, an indescribable sense of sorrow also influenced everyone around him. However, you are also my enemy at the same time. Huo Yuhao was already very pale when he said this. The White Tiger Duke's voice cracked as he asked, "No, this is impossible. How could you possibly be my son?" Huo Yuhao took in a deep breath and tried to suppress his emotions. In that case, let me remind you that my mom's surname is Huo. You should recognize that. As he spoke, Huo Yuhao lifted his hand and retrieved a dagger from his storage-type soul tool before passing it to the White Tiger Duke. This is a gift of love that you gave my mom. I hope you haven't forgotten. The White Tiger Duke paused for a moment. He was fixated on the White Tiger dagger in Huo Yuhao's hand. He took it subconsciously, but his hands were shaking. You're Yuna's kid. Yuna, she actually bore me a child. Didn't she die of sickness when I went out for an expedition? How did this happen? The person who told you about my mom's death must be your wife, Huo Yuhao said coldly. In your heart, my mom must have had died some 20-odd years ago. Dai Hao was in a daze as he looked at the dagger. I was busy with war. I couldn't return even after learning Yuna was dead. Things were very tense at the front line. I didn't return to the Duke's mansion for 10 years. When I returned, she was already in ashes. The only thing I could do was refurbish her tomb. You're actually Yuna's son. You shouldn't be called Huo Yuhao then. You should be called Dai Yuhao. Huo Yuhao shook his head with force and raged, No, I'm not Dai Hao. I'm Huo Yuhao. I'm only Huo Yuhao. I'm my mother's son, not your son. Have you taken care of me for a single day? Did you even know I existed? When I was young, I had to watch you from afar. You even returned then, but why didn't you go and see my mom? Why did you let your wife bully her? I returned. Every time I did so, I had to leave hastily. Things were simply too hectic in the military. Yes, I neglected Yuna. Dai Hao turned pale. Even when he faced Juzi's sword, he didn't look as lost as he was right now. Huo Yuhao turned his head suddenly and tried to hold back his tears. After we deal with this matter, I will get back everything you owe my mother from the Duke's mansion, you and your wife. As he spoke, Huo Yuhao turned to Juzi. Do you understand? You should. No matter how much I'm unwilling to admit it, his blood flows in me. Although he harmed my mother, he's still a hero of the Star Luo Empire. I'm not ashamed because his blood flows in me. No matter what, I won't let him die by your hands. Now you should understand why I'm protecting him, right? After he finally vented everything he had kept in his heart for so many years, Huo Yuhao felt relieved. Everything was about to be over. After he defeated the Sun Moon Empire's army, he would return to the Duke's mansion. Tang Wutong was close to Huo Yuhao and grabbed onto his arm. She grabbed his arm and used the warmth of her palms to comfort him. She was the only one who wasn't astonished by his words. This was because she already knew. He still deeply recalled the vow he had made before he left the Duke's mansion more than 10 years ago. If not for that vow, he wouldn't have trained so tirelessly. Although his hatred had diminished, he still believed he needed to deal with his mother's matter. A bitter look surfaced on Juzi's face. I didn't expect this. I really didn't expect this. You are actually his son. Yuhao, I have to thank you. You are right, I really shouldn't kill him. No matter how much I hate him, I can't kill him. Return my son to me. Return Yunhan to me. I'll promise you anything. I'll pull the army back. We'll return the land we've taken from the Star Luo Empire to them. However, both the Heavenly Soul and Douling empires have long been occupied. We can't return them. They are already more than half the Sun Moon Empire's land. I have no right to return them. What I can do is to return the Star Luo Empire. It's already the most I can do. The White Tiger Duke was slightly shocked when he heard Juzi's words. It was already a surprise that the Sun Moon Empire was willing to return their territories. As for the Douling and Heavenly Soul empires, their royal families were completely powerless. Even if their empires were returned to them, they were no longer capable of running them. Undoubtedly, this was the best that could be achieved. After pondering for a moment, Huo Yuhao nodded and said, "All right, we'll follow your idea. Retreat with your army and leave the Star Luo Empire. However, since you betrayed our promise, I'll need you to pay for it 100 times more. Within the next 1,000 years, the Sun Moon Empire must not invade the Star Luo Empire." Juzi sighed, "All right, I can promise that. However, we'll counterattack if the Star Luo Empire attacks us. Return my child to me. We'll leave immediately." She finally compromised. It had to do with Elder Kong. This was their bottom line that Elder Kong had suggested to her. As Huo Yuhao and Tang Wutong were simply too strong and there were stationary interference shells, the entire Sun Moon Empire army might actually be wiped out if Huo Yuhao decided to attack. They could only leave this place first before finding a way to invent a soul tool strong enough to deal with him. Huo Yuhao said, "Leave first. As for Yunhan, I'll take care of him. You've already betrayed your promise once. How do you expect me to trust you again? After 10 years, I'll return him to you as long as the Sun Moon Empire remains obedient." "What?" Juzi exclaimed. "You're going to take Yunhan away for 10 years? No, impossible. Impossible." After hearing that Huo Yuhao wanted to leave with Shu Yunhan, Juzi panicked. Huo Yuhao dealt with this in a composed manner. "You betrayed our trust and started a war. We can't trust you anymore. Shu Yunhan will follow me for the next 10 years, and we'll see what happens next. You can leave now. This video will end here.